All right, what's up, everybody? So today we are here with Mr. Aaron H. from the United Kingdom. He is a Tien Shan student and really, in my opinion, really the only guy who has truly is succeeding Mr. Gray's legacy. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. Steve did make you at one point an official instructor. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Steve put on the website, he did say that he was, I was the only one that he allowed to teach Tenshan Neikung. And he put that on because I was like, well, be honest with you, I'm still on my own journey. I don't really want to teach this stuff. There are plenty of dangers with Qigong, and you know, especially teaching it online, you can't monitor a person properly. If things with energy practices go tits up, there's no one there to help them. Someone's 5,000 miles away. What good are you to them? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of dangers with these practices. So people have got to be careful. So, but I was honoured as well because I trained with Steve. I trained for 3-4 years. 2 to 3 hours a day. I'd worked hard, so there was part of me that was honoured that Steve thought that highly of me. So it was a great honour.
Yeah, certainly. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron. You never actually met Steve in real life, right? It was just online like this, right?
No, that's correct. I never got the opportunity to go see him, unfortunately. I never went. We trained together on Zoom. I did chat to him most days, and in the end, like I said, he considered me a friend. He called me friend. He didn't even call me student in the end. He called me a friend, and I did consider, Steve to be a friend as well.
Yeah,
I thought
I
very
think.
highly.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's important for me to first talk about this because, as you all know, I made a video about Mr. Gray and recently, and it triggered some people, and I want to take this opportunity to formally apologize to anybody who I've triggered. Obviously, Mr. Gray was a very controversial figure within the Qigong community and stuff. He's made several controversial videos, and some people were questioning his sanity and things like that. And I was one of them. Even though I like Mr. Gray, I've always respected him and stuff like that. I've had some assumptions about Mr. Gray, and the way he behaved and things like that. So I've and it wasn't right for me to make certain assumptions without even knowing. So I want to take this opportunity to apologize to anybody who I've triggered and anybody within.
No, like I said, you never triggered me, but obviously I wrote a comment on one of your videos just to clarify my point of view. See, I can't speak for anybody else's point of view, but I can speak from my point of view as somebody who trained with Steve, who spoke to Steve most days. So I can clarify, my point of view of Steve. So I had to put my version across. And as far as I could tell, I practiced with Steve for a 70-year-old guy. His flexibility and strength was amazing. I think Steve's health started to go down bank when he started getting the heart troubles. He thought that was down to long COVID, whatever it may have been. But obviously, he did have a lot of stress going on in his life, a divorce that didn't seem pleasant. But that's when, to me, Steve's health seemed to start going down bank. Because a month before that, I was training with him. And anyone who's done Tien Shan, it's quite a lot of stretching. It's quite a very physical form of Qigong. You know what I mean? So it's not easy, So, he worked on a farm, which he had to look after, a big land area. He had to feed animals. He had to do a lot of work. He had to grow his own food. So he was a man. He built his own house. He was a very skilled man with his hands. So, it didn't come to me that he was like some broken old man. Was he out there on his own after his divorce? Was he a bit lonely? Probably, yeah. But that's my perspective on it anyway. But I was not angry with you for doing the doing the video with Chris or Trigger. I just felt I needed to put my point of view across because some of the things that Chris said were in my opinion, true. Steve was okay with Chris, and then Steve got pissed off with Chris, and then I was in the middle of that, and I spoke to Chris, and when I spoke to Chris, he seemed like a very nice guy. So
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Chris is a great guy and stuff. And you know, it, I don't know how to say this. I mean, obviously, there's some misunderstandings and confusion going on and stuff, but really, I mean, I think it's best to just bury all that and you know, and just not talk about that situation anymore because I think it serves no one any good and stuff. And like I said, Chris is a great guy and he is a great human being, and I have nothing but respect for him and his abilities and what he can do and stuff like that. So yeah, but I think it is important that I first address that. And let's just I think it's best to just publicly say, let's just put all that trouble and drama aside. And I think really my goal is to preserve Mr. Gray's legacy. I mean, Mr. Gray had a wonderful thing going on. There's nobody really talking about Mr. Gray or Tian Shan Neikung a whole lot anymore, but as someone who was a little bit involved, I occasionally want to make, videos about Mr. Gray and reminiscing about the wonderful memories we had together and things like that. I think that'll be okay. So, that I just wanted to, put that out there to just clarify that. So, yeah. So, Aaron, that being said, let's just start talking about your journey. How did your Qigong journey actually begin? Can you talk to me about that?
Well, I've always dabbled with a lot of martial arts all my life. I've done, a bit of Jeet Kune Do, I've done a bit of karate, I've done a lot of things, and I was always kind of fascinated about this idea of Qi. There was this kind of hidden level to martial arts, this energy, this Qi. Was there any truth to it, or is it bullshit? You know what I mean? You can read and you can study things, but when it comes to things in life, you've got to put your head in and get in there. So I started doing some research. The first thing I found out about was something called Jianzhong, obviously standing meditation. And then I was searching Neikung on YouTube, and I found a video by Steve Gray, and he put this Neikung video out, which was like 10 Shan for athletes. And I went and bought the video and started doing it, and I felt really good after doing it. And I was like, shit, man, whoa, what's this heat in my hands and this, this energy? There's something good. There's something to this. This is real. And you notice after you do it, you feel, well, most exercise, you feel depleted. When you do Qigong, you feel energized and you feel good. So I felt really good in myself and felt a lot better. And I was just like, this is good. So, he put a couple of the levels out and I started corresponding with Steve. And then it just went from there. Steve put a few levels out. Me and Steve started corresponding more. And eventually I became Steve's online student, or one of Steve's online students.
Wow. So you haven't really played with any other form of Qigong at all. You pretty much all you did was Tian Shan Neikung.
I was doing Jianzhong as well, or playing with Jianzhong. Since then, I've had some lessons in Jianzhong, so I'm more experienced in Jianzhong.
Who have you learned? Who have you learned Jianzhong from? Just out of curiosity.
I've had, obviously, there's a book called The Way of Energy by a master called Master Lam. Now, there's the Lam Association, which is in London, England, but they do online Jianzhong, and you can do private sessions with Master Lam or his son, Sifu Tinyu. So I did some sessions with Sifu Tinyu on Jianzhong. So I've learned some basic Jianzhong, the 5 elemental postures and the Wu Qi posture. So I've learned some Jianzhong. But I'd played with Jianzhong before, but I've had some proper lessons off, some, in my opinion, proper masters. And I think Jianzhong is probably one of the best and powerful ways to cultivate Qi. And one of the ways, if a beginner was looking into Qigong, Jianzhong is probably a very good way, a very good place to start and go. So
yeah,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Just to clarify the audience, Jianzhong is basically no movement, just stationary stuff like this,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll usually, a teacher will warm you up with some movements and you can do some movements from the standing still position. But yeah, Jianzhong is standing meditation. Yeah, you stand with a slight bend in the knees and you hold postures in various postures. Most of the postures are holding the ball type postures, and that obviously turns on, allows your energy to flow through the body, through the feet, and through the part of the hand you're holding. So if you're holding at chest level, the energy will usually, you'll usually feel it in your hands and your chest. So, but in my opinion, that's the best way. If people were going about there and they wanted to start Qigong, that would probably be the best way to start with, a trained professional teacher.
Yeah. Aaron, if you're comfortable about this, Steve often talked about a person who achieved enlightenment within several months and stuff like that. He was referring to your experience. Do you feel comfortable talking about, I mean, when he mentioned enlightenment, it's not like you became an ascended master, but perhaps his definition of enlightenment is just having like a samadhi or like a kundalini, initial kundalini type experience is what he is referring to. But maybe perhaps within Taoism, it's just called enlightenment. Could you, is it okay? Do you feel comfortable talking about that experience?
Yeah. I mean, in both Taoism and Hinduism, it's documented, you know what I mean? A certain reaction in the upper dantian when the chi, you know what I mean? And it's something that a lot of people experience in both Taoism and Hinduism. So it's nothing special, but Steve referred to it as enlightenment. I wouldn't call it an enlightenment. I would call it a start of a journey in alchemy, you know what I mean? So it's not really anything special. Anyone who's practiced in the Taoist arts or practiced in Hinduism for a long enough time will probably, if it's meant to be, experience, certain alchemical changes. But I wouldn't call it, in Taoism, it's documented as opening the gate or opening the door or start of, a long journey or opening up to your original nature. And I mean, it can sound a bit crazy conceptually explain it, because these things are things that people need to really experience to fully understand. But that's the best way I can, because the idea of enlightenment, oh, you're a master, you know everything, and this is the end. And I don't think I don't think that's really the case. I just think it's part of like alchemy. And if anyone who plays with energy or does Qigong throughout the time, you're going to have experiences. If you meditate, you're going to have experiences. Some experiences you might be able to logically explain, some experiences you won't. You'll experience heat, you'll experience feeling chi and the heat, the energy and the chi may change over the years. It's all part of the journey, but you just don't get stuck on it, because then all of a sudden somebody can say, oh, you're enlightened and you're special and you're better than anybody else. Actually, I don't think that's the case. But Steve, I can understand why someone might depict it as enlightenment, but I don't think it is. I just think it's kind of just part of Taoist alchemy. But you're kind of becoming aware of your connection with energy beyond your body. You're becoming aware of connection with the universal energies. That's the best way I could depict it. And everybody has that accessible to them. It's not special. It doesn't make a person special. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense. So, Aaron, what other benefits have you experienced with Tian Shan Ne Kung?
Well, you have a lot of energy. I think as you meditate more, non-thinking, and as you think less, you have less anxiety. You sleep better. I think you're full of energy, which makes you better in everything you do in life. Less anxiety. I didn't realize what an anxious person I was. I was quite a neurotic, anxious person, but I don't have anxiety or any fear. Nowhere near what I did. I think anxiety and fear kind of drops, and I think you become more sensitive, more empathetic. But as you've talked about in one of your videos, you talked about the ability to sense energy, and you can become more empathetic to things because you can sense things more powerfully. That can be a gift and a curse, you know what I mean? But I think that's one of the most powerful things that that come from developing with energy. And obviously, as your field gets better, bigger, and more powerful, because ultimately, I suppose the higher levels of Qigong you're going to the quantum. So, you know what I mean? You're connecting more, and I suppose that gets more powerful, your ability, you know, to be sensitive. But I think this is a natural ability that we all have. It's just the Qigong or these energy methods just make them more powerful. I don't think it's anything special, but obviously the more you become sensitive to energy, the more that develops that intuition, that sensitivity.
Yeah, certainly. Well said. Give me 1 second. So you spoke about. Sorry, I actually wrote down like some questions for Aaron, and I'm just trying to read them out here. Before this interview began. So how many hours do you train in a day currently, Tian Shan?
I'm not gonna lie. Well, I'll be honest with you. I've been keeping me handing with Tenshan, but I've been mostly doing Janjong. But to be honest, chi is chi, energy is energy. You know what I mean? There's not really much different. But I was doing it 3 hours a day. I would do it a few hours before work, and I'd do it an hour in the evening. I slacked off for the last 6 months, and I've only been doing it an hour. But now I'm going to get back into doing it.
Wow,
more.
You're quite dedicated.
Yeah, like I said, it makes you feel good. You know, if I'm going to go work, I would get up and do it before work. And some days if I didn't do it before work, I felt a bit cracky because it energizes you, and you feel good, and you feel calm, and you do everything. I think you do everything in your life better. So I would do it before. I like to do it in the morning before I go work. So that's me. So yeah, say 2 to 3 hours a day. When I slacked off for 6 months, I was only doing it an hour. But now I'm going to get back into doing it, hopefully 3 hours a day. Hopefully,
wow.
I'm going to try to do some standing meditation more, and try to do sitting meditation in the evening if possible. Like I said, I've got a busy life. I've got a full-time job, and I've got a family, and I've got a little daughter. So if I want to do it, the best time is before work. So I have to get my ass up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. But that's what you've got to do. If you want to do something, then you do it. You know what I mean? You make it work, or you do it.
Wow, you're a really dedicated person, and it's amazing to see someone that dedicated practicing chi work and really disciplined and stuff like that. I can't because of my busy lifestyle as well. I can maybe do an hour a day, but I definitely need to do more qigong or Janzhuang.
No, I think that's good.
I honestly do a lot of Janzhuang too. Like I have the Janzhuang Power Secrets by Steve over there, and
No, I think that's great if you can do an hour a day. But then on days when you've got more time, if you could do a lot more. I mean, apparently from the way it goes, I mean, you've got Master Wang Zile, who's a master. He was he started the martial arts Yichan, and apparently he would train at least 3 to 4 hours a day. And I've heard from what Fook has said to people, Fook Young, you should train 2 to 4 hours a day. So, the real masters were very serious. You know what I mean? They train 2 to 4 hours a day, every day. And it gets boring standing like that. You do anything any day, man, and it gets frigging boring. It requires discipline. There's no doubt about it. But like I said, it all depends. If it makes you feel good and it's what you want, you've just got to get your finger out your bum and do it. Simple as that. There's no shortcuts. I mean, Janjong is hard work. It's boring. It's physically demanding, and it's just like how did these guys stand to do this to 2 to 4 hours a day? I mean, maybe they had easier lives. I don't know, but yeah.
But Aaron, you have a background in bodybuilding, if I remember correctly. Am I correct on that?
I was a fitness instructor for 3 to 4 years, so I was into like all kinds of fitness. Steve depicted me as a bodybuilder, but I probably know a lot more about the fitness side of things than Qigong, because obviously I did that for a lot of years, and I've got a degree in sports science, so I do know me shit when it comes to fitness. But yeah, I was a relatively physically fit guy, so Steve depicted me as a bodybuilder. I wouldn't say I was a bodybuilder, but I did, I trained, I did a bit of everything really, but back then, yeah. So Steve called me a bodybuilder.
Yeah, Steve doesn't really talk a whole lot about yin and yang energy. He talks about mainly the qi shin and Oh my gosh, it's too early for me to think right now. Uh, man, you know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I mean, to Steve, like I said, yin energy comes up through the ground, and then the yang energy comes down. To Steve, it's all bullshit because when it comes down to it, there's only really one energy, and you've got to be really good to know the difference between the feel of different energies. I think there is probably a slight difference. The yang energy is probably a higher frequency and a bit more, the kind of energy that would make you want to go have a fight with anybody. Where the yin energy is kind of a bit more calmer and easier. But yeah. Like I said, I mean, there's in Zhanjiang, you've got the fire posture, which sends the energy to the heart and makes you a little bit more feisty. And then in Zhanjiang, there's a Santi posture. If you do that long enough, you will experience yang energy, and it does make you a bit feisty and aggressive. But so there probably is a difference. But really, when it comes down to it, there's only probably one energy, was what Steve, I think, was trying to. The point that Steve was trying to put across: don't get caught in conceptual bullshit. Just do it and experience it.
Right, right. Yes, I totally lost my train of thought because it's
No,
early
don't
for me.
worry, man.
But
Take your
it's like
time.
Qi Jing and Shen. Yeah, he often talked about Qi is basically cultivated by meditation, and like Jing is basically like the vitality is how he
Well, yeah,
phrased it.
I mean, there's a bit of a crossover. Like Zhanjiang, for example, is classed as Ming, so that obviously is the Qi and the Jing, and then develops the physical body. And like the Tenshan moving Qigong also is kind of Jing, which will develop the physical body, because you want your physical body be strong before you're sitting. And like a lot of people make the mistake of just going into sitting meditation, they haven't developed the physical body strong, and then obviously all the emotional shit comes up, and then that fucks them up, and then the physical body is fucked up because the back wasn't strong enough to sit down. So the Taoists always spent a good few years developing the physical body strong before they went into the sitting practices, so they didn't fuck themselves, mess themselves up. So
Yeah, that's actually a great advice that Aaron is just gave away. Really, I mean, I think a lot of people want to jump into meditation. A lot of people want to jump into like doing chi work and stuff, but really, you should really develop your Jing, your physical body first. Because I've interviewed so many people, and it seems to me like I've seen a common denominator: the people who are very physically fit seem to have a lot more success with like energy work, and seem to have not experience as much bad side effects and stuff, based on my observation. And that it makes a whole lot of sense because Aaron had like fitness training in the past and stuff like that, so it makes perfect sense.
I mean, like I said, yeah, the Tenshan moving Qigong is probably the most, if you do it properly, it's probably the most physical demanding Qigong you can do. But that's another thing with the Tenshan Qigong, because the way Steve did it was very physically demanding. It opens your energy channels up very quickly, so then you can flood your central channel with Qi very quickly, and then that can be a bit too much for somebody to take, as the Qi comes through your central channel and then can go up to your head too quickly. So that's why, I mean, Tenshan is powerful, very powerful. That's why I feel a lot of people, Zhanjiang is probably the best way to start, because I think it opens the channels of energy in a lot more of a slow way, which is safer probably for a lot of people. Because that's the thing about Tenshan, and something that Steve Smith talked about me. It's probably not for the masses, especially it's a powerful Qigong. It's a very powerful Qigong, and like I said, you turn on those energy channels too quickly. You know what I mean? It can it does its work very quick. So not everybody's ready for that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, certainly. Aaron, obviously, Mr. Gray is unfortunately dead. Are you planning on seeking out a different teacher, um, or maybe a different lineage? What are your plans as far as your energy journey is concerned?
just to keep going, because like I said, I think it gets deeper and deeper. I think it never ends. Like I said, the Qi changes, the Qi gets more high frequency, everything changes. Your consciousness and your perspective and your awareness awakens, and it never ends. If you look at the masters, they didn't just like, oh, I'm just doing it for 2 years now and I'm stopped. You know, whatever happened, they just kept going. And the real masters are the ones who did it every day for 30 years. And obviously they enjoyed it. You've got to enjoy it and have some passion for it, or there's no point getting involved in it, not just because of what you attain. I mean, like I said, I think that's something that Master Wang Zhao said. You know what I mean? I forgot what he said, but he said something about, you know, the desiring one always looks for the outcome. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, you enjoy it and you feel good, and that's where it goes. But it's like, yeah, I'm just going to keep going because I enjoy it and it makes me feel good, and whatever comes, you know what I mean? Whatever comes, I'll take. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, certainly. So you pretty much are planning on just sticking to Tian Shan training and
I do Ten Shan now and then, and I'm doing Zhang. I don't think if you're cultivating Qi, you're cultivating Qi. There's not really a difference. Everybody's looking for this special thing. What I will say is Ten Shan, obviously because of how physical it is, builds energy very quickly. But you know, Zhang builds energy as well. But what I will say, you've got to look at why you're doing it. You know, what are your goals? Are you looking to just get a bit healthier? If you're looking to get a bit healthier, just do it 15 minutes, you know, to an hour a day. If you're looking for probably the higher aspects of Qigong or the Taoist aspects, then you probably need to put in more time. And that's obviously dissolving, you know, the Qi rising more and more, building your field, the Qi, you know, developing the frequency of the Qi changing over the years and becoming. So it all depends what you want. You know what I mean? If you're looking for the spiritual side of Taoism, you probably got to put more time, you know, put more time in. Now, if a person was looking for, like, you know, they wanted to do it for martial arts, or they wanted to build the Qi power in their hands because they wanted to build powerful hands for striking or whatever they were doing, then maybe that person might be dedicated to do it longer. But like I said, with everything in life, you get out what you put in. So, and like I said, you can, you know, some of the masters did things for years and never experienced anything, and then all of a sudden, like I said, it's just, you know, it's my perspective. Only
yeah,
my
that's
perspective.
yeah, your perspective, but I think you're pretty spot on and stuff about everything. I think I feel like you're the only person who's really truly qualified to talk about this. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want Mr. Gray's legacy to be forgotten. I mean, you know, I was a big fan of him for a long time, and you know, once again, I want to reiterate this to the audience. I really am putting out my video interview that I recently did with Mr. Fazio. It was my intention was not to bash Mr. Gray. It was I wanted to somehow preserve preserve Steve's legacy as best as possible. And obviously I made so many false assumptions, and I
No, you never
apologize.
bash Steve. You never bash
But
Steve
I mean
at all.
I
No, you never bash Steve at all. At the end of the day, Chris has his right to his opinions. You never bash. I never for a second thought you bashed Steve.
right. But I mean
People
I've received several comments and messages like I'm not gonna it wasn't just
no worry. Yeah,
I'm not talking about you, but other people. So, but that being said, though, I mean, moving forward, Aaron, like I, um, I don't want his system to be forgotten. I don't want him to be forgotten and stuff like that. Do you, and since you were given a, technically an instructor.
well,
Privilege.
we probably need to talk and clarify about that, obviously, because I've talked to you a little bit about this. I mean, first of all, this is the controversy. Steve Gray was not an adopted son of the Ten Shan lineage. He was not given official permission to teach off Master Fu Qigong. So that in Chinese circles, that's and in lineages, that's a big deal. So I have had a little correspondent with Steve Smith, who's a lovely gentleman, but I think if Steve had taught in a more low-key way, but obviously Steve wrote the book, and then Steve obviously did the online videos, which you know, obviously tends to be not how it's done. So to have permission to teach, permission has got to come from the adopted son of the lineage, which is Mr. Steve Smith. He's the official inheritor from Qigong. And Steve, unfortunately, wasn't an official inheritor. Now, I know that Steve was a real deal energy master. I know he trained 8 years with Fook, and if he'd have been a bit more low key, but I think obviously his actions may have not gone down very well with Steve Smith in writing the book, and obviously making things as public as he did, which I'm kind of glad he did, because I'd have never gotten a chance to learn it. But there you go. And a lot of people probably got a chance to benefit from what Steve did. So was it meant to be in the universal perspective of things that Steve taught? You know, but Ten Shan is being passed on through Steve Smith. If people want to learn Ten Shan, he does online teaching. He does have a few close people who I think who he's teaching to learn the full thing. But people can learn Ten Shan with Steve Smith. A few people have come to me and I've directed them to Steve Smith, and you know they might be doing the online lessons with him, or I think it's a case of, you know, it's a case. I forgot what I was going to say. It might be a case of, you know, they can't do it because of the time, or they'll do something else, or you know, you've got Master Lam and the Lam Association. They teach Janjong. There's another great master called Mark Cohen. He's got a great book called Inside Janjong, and people can do private lessons with him as well. So, you know, there are plenty of options if people are serious and they want to cultivate energy and they want to get good at it. Because like I said, it's not like this method's more powerful than that method. You know, you've just got to do the work. And Janjong is just as powerful as any other method if you're serious about it. So people can learn Ten Shan, but they can't learn Ten Shan with me, because I'm kind of not allowed to teach it. And secondly, I'm still on my own journey. I've only been doing it 4 years. I'm dedicated, but I would hardly say I don't consider myself a master, not compared to some of the guys I've come across. You know what I mean? They are masters. They've studied it for 30 years. They are the real deal. I'm still learning. And like I said, it is very controversial. If a Heikung lineage is real, then you respect it. You know, it has deep ties, and you respect it, and you don't go against those things, or you know, you're going to lead yourself into a river of bad karma. And I don't want to do that.
Wow. So, yeah, that's very profound, and thank you for clarifying that, Aaron. It is kind of sad, like, but part of me is really sad because, you know, I wanted someone to succeed, you know, Tian Shan the way Steve taught as best as possible and stuff like that. But, you know, you are right. I mean, there is Mr. Steve Smith out there who, I mean, he's, you know, live in the same state as I am. I'm on the opposite side in Spokane. He's in Seattle, but yeah, you're correct. I mean, Mr. Steve Smith is the direct lineage holder, and you know, he is still alive and healthy as far as I know. I've seen some of his videos as well. So yeah, Mr. Steve Smith is definitely someone to probably seek out if you want to learn the real Tian Shan Nei Kung. So yeah, I mean, that's I guess
this is the thing as well. Like I said, this stuff, like I said, it isn't any Qigong really. There's dangers. You can get energy blockages. You can get things opening up too quickly. You can have your emotional shit coming up, which can mess people up. There's a lot of dangers with Qigong. It's not like a regular exercise routine. Everybody really should have a teacher close by. I mean, even learning online, you've got to be careful. You want your teacher to be in hand's reach. That's how it was in the old days. You lived with a master, and the master, you know, you taught with that master for years. So I'm not saying if Steve Smith gave me permission to teach one day, but I don't think I would do it the way Steve, if I was to teach one day, I don't think I'd do it the way online, because I think there's just too many dangers. There's too many variables you can't control. And when you're teaching people something that can be potentially dangerous and you're not there, to help him or assist him. So I'm not saying I wouldn't teach if I got permission off Mr. Smith one day, but it would probably be in a closed door, a close, you know what I mean, in a close situation. And it's got to be when it's right, instinctively feels right. And a lot of the people I've spoke to, it hasn't felt right.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the clarification, Aaron. Let me see if there's any other questions that I wrote to you earlier that I'm not missing out on here. Anything you would like to clarify about? I mean, I guess you've done that. You know, I was gonna say what I was gonna ask. Anything you would like to clarify about, like, you know, Qigong and Taoism and stuff? I think you've done that. Anything you like to clarify about Tian Shan? I think you've done that. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess we can already go to the last question that I wrote, and I think this is the most profound one. What is your message to Steve Gray in heaven?
In all honesty, where is Steve Gray? I don't think it's as simple as there's like an earth and heaven. I think there's possibly many light realities beyond this one, but where is he? I don't know. Has he gone to somewhere else? Is he in the light of eternal bliss? Where the hell is he? I don't know. I don't know. He gave me an amazing gift. I was lucky to meet him. I didn't understand him for a while because, to be honest with you, Steve was an odd person. At times it was odd to figure him out, but I think Steve's consciousness was so high. I don't think you could figure him out. I think, you know, and you weren't supposed to, but, you know, I cared about him in a weird way. I think I loved him in a weird way, which, you know, I knew him over 3-4 years and I had a lot of love and respect for him, and he gave me a great gift, and I was very fortunate to meet and train with him. That's all I can say. And I miss him. I miss him dearly.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, for that. And man, you know, there's yeah. Yeah. I guess my message to Mr. Gray and also his, you know, students and stuff will be, you know, I'm really truly grateful for Mr. Gray. I mean, there's obviously I can't deny that there was a lot of problems that happened, you know, by me interviewing him and stuff. And you know, I quit this work too because there was a lot of, you know, controversy surrounding, you know, some of the you know, interviews that I did with Chris Fazio and stuff like that. But really, I just want to say that Chris Fazio is a great guy, and Steve Gray really is a good guy. And, you know, really, I think that, you know, ultimately Tian Shan is an amazing path. And if you practice it, like Aaron said, if you practice Tian Shan, you know, you're gonna, you know, reach a high level. And yeah, I mean, you just have to be consistent with it. And, you know, Steve Gray, I think, was a true blessing to the Qigong community and the Qigong community in general. And, you know, I'm really, really, truly grateful that Steve Gray was present in the few years that he was online on YouTube and stuff. And I think he had a major impact on all of us. And, you know, just want to say that I'm really, truly grateful for Mr. Gray and, you know, everything he taught us. And yeah, I'm just, you know, tremendously grateful for him. So
yeah, like I said, and you know, that's you know, that's lovely. Like I said, and if everything happens for a reason, Steve came out and he put out what he put out for people, and you know, it was all meant to be for a bigger purpose. So
yeah, I've no doubt about it as well. Okay, well, I think we'll wrap this interview up, Aaron. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for like letting me talk about, you know, letting me talk about my perspective of it. Like I said, people have got different perspectives, so you know, everything happens and people, you know, get into these things for whatever reasons. I don't judge because everything seems to happen how it was meant to happen anyway. So yeah, but thank you for having a chat. And there's anything else you want to ask or no? Okay.
No, I think we're fine. Yeah, thank you once again, Aaron. And I will put Mr. Gray's YouTube channel that's still available. Unfortunately, his website is down. But you know, I will put.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think the videos of the first 5 levels still seem to be out there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's on Vimeo and stuff. I might
I
put a
don't know
link.
I don't know who's obviously getting the money for them, but I don't know what's going on there because I thought that would have come down by now. But there you go. They still seem to be out there. But
yeah, I think the Vimeo accounts, you know, fortunately.
My advice would be, like I said, go to somebody, you know, go to Steve Smith. You know what I mean? You know,
Yeah.
Go to Steve or go to somebody before. You know, it's best not to do something without, or go to somebody who, like, you know, if he'll take it, then go to somebody who, you know, you should do without training something without without a teacher is a bit dangerous. I'd advise most people to you know, seek out the Lam Association and do Janjong, or, you know, there's a book, The Way of Energy, and the Lam Association, you can book in lessons for Janjong, and then you've got a teacher backing you up, because Janjong, in my opinion, is just as powerful. So rather than doing something without the aid of a teacher.
Yeah, certainly. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for coming on. And yeah, like I said, I will leave the remaining links there are Mr. Gray in the links below, and if you guys want to check that out. But as Aaron advised, probably best to seek out Mr. Steve Smith if you want to, you know, if you're interested in learning Tian Shan moving forward. So, okay. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. You know, truly
Lovely,
grateful.
man. Thank you.
And yeah, and yeah, let's definitely stay in touch, you know, on a personal basis. So
no, man, definitely, yeah, man. I feel like you've become kind of a mate, to be honest. Yeah, so
no, you are 100%. Like I you know, I've always got a really good vibe from you. Like, you know, I'm really good at telling like whether someone's a good person or not. And yeah, you know, you, as you would say, we don't use the word mate in America, but yeah, I consider you a friend. So yeah.
Oh,
so.
Thank you, man. Yeah, thank you. And like I said, Steve wouldn't have done the interview with you if he thought, you know, Steve could sense people. He knew people. So if he'd have but trust me, if he'd have had a bad vibe about you, he'd have known about it, you know, so.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, thank you for that. So, okay, we'll see you, Aaron.
Yeah, thank you.